Instead of 10 making another video, I wanted to pitch in and help any newer fellow DPS Blade Masters with learning how to do as much damage as possible with the right Godstones. I'm Azazel, the first squad captain in the Knights of the Blood Oath, so without further delay, let's get into it. So first off, I just wanted to say that this is my personal build and preferences, and it's by no means perfect. But I hope you can take some of this information and adapt it to your own builds to squeeze out just a little more damage. So let's start with the dashes. Fast footwork and ghost step are both good in their own rights, but for the moment, fast footwork is way more useful for in-game content, so that's what I'm always using. On the fast footwork Godstone, the major perk you want is inspiration, which regens 50% of your rage over 10 seconds after using the dash with the 30-second cooldown. That's very useful. Now for newer players, ghost step with a haunt or a dyad isn't bad either, but getting a good fast footwork early on would be good for the long run. For the minor perks, I put everything into quick wit. Wait, let me re-click it. I put everything into quick wit, but it doesn't work at the moment. It's the only useful one, so I still put points into it for when it does work. Now, on to Cadence. For the downwards cadence, I use combo, that way I can keep activating its 20% AP buff through the fight. For the major perk, I use dyad, which when hitting a target with combo, boosts your AP by 15% for 2 seconds with a 6-second cooldown. I will use Sunder very rarely, only if I need to help with stagger percentage, and by stagger percentage, I mean this. The first photo shows its base 200%. One Sunder activation adds 10%, which you see in this photo. It's at 210%. Bosses have a 500% maximum, and that's where some big damage comes from during stagger. So with the horizontal cadence, I use scythe because it's very useful to be able to heal without having to use any rage. For the major, I use reaper, which has a 50% chance to gain 5 additional rage, no cooldown. Sadly, it doesn't work at the moment, so dyad could work here too. I mean, I have 3 points in the primal, but again, you could choose others like savage or ferocious. So now let's take a look into the power strikes. On the downwards power strike, I use vorpal. In my opinion, every DPS ever should always use vorpal. For the major perk, I use godslayer, which when enemies hit, take 10% more damage for 6 seconds and increase your AP by 10% for 6 seconds with no cooldown. For the minor perks, I put 2 points into cunning and 1 point into primal. You could just put any points into primal just because you only need to put 2 points into cunning, because you can only drop the rage cost to 13. It won't go below, so anything after 2 points is a waste. Now with this major perk, it'll give you 10% AP buff on every activation, so that's very useful on keeping your AP buff maxed at 50%. With the horizontal power strike, I use Doom with inevitability, which is supposed to add an additional 100% AP damage to the explosion, but I had tested it a few days ago and I'm pretty sure it's not working properly, so a dyad could work too. I just have it attached, so whenever it is fixed, it's just already there and I don't have to change my setup. I had put 3 points into cunning and 1 into savage. I had put 3 points into cunning to drop the cost down to 26, but if you put any more points in, like 4 or 5, it's not going to go below 26. I had tested it on this Godstone just to show, and it doesn't work. So only 3 points into cunning to get it down to 26. For the ultimate, there's no perks for the ultimate for right now. So I'm going to skip the weapon throw for now and come back to it. For the Master Strike, the only Godstone available is Death's Dance. The major perk you want is Dyad again. For the minor, I put everything into primal. Just don't use Cunning or Quick Wit because it has no cost or cooldown and it would just be a waste of points. Now, back to the sword throw. I use Skirmisher's Edge, which in the description it's supposed to reduce the cooldown of your dash by 4 seconds, but it doesn't work properly and doesn't reduce the cooldown at all. For the major perk, I use dyad again, which that way you can have multiple things to keep giving you an AP buff to try and keep you at that 50% maximum. I put 5 into primal and 1 into savage. I just didn't use quick wit just because it does show that the ability charges faster. It drops it to 9 seconds, but when you try and throw your sword at that charge time, it won't let you throw your sword for a couple seconds. I tested it on this one just to make sure. So it's pretty much just like running a Godstone without quick wit, so I just put the points into something else that's more useful. So in short, combo, more damage through the fight. Sunder, only for stagger percentage if needed. for the minor perk, you can choose whatever, but I ended up putting everything in the savage. And for a side note, if you're ever trying to set records for yourself, combo is the way. Like with World Boss, trying to get a sub 3 minute run, it's much easier with combo instead of Sunder. Well, that's about it for Godstones at the moment until some more bugs are fixed. If you guys need help finding places to farm Godstones, click the link in the description below and watch a short clip for a few easy spots to grind them. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys in the next DPS Blademaster guide.